this.
Keep on top of the little carrier thing. Yeah, I'm on B, yeah. After my video yesterday talking about how excited I was to play Leap, they announced a special playtest where we got to play 3 rounds of the game yesterday evening. So in this video I'm going to talk about the things I liked about what I played so far and the things I think they need to work on. In this playtest there was only one server running, and that meant we were playing up against people who'd been testing the game for a very long time and developers, and so it kind of got destroyed by a lot of people. But I've tried to kind of cherry pick the clips where it looks like I'm doing okay in this. Trust me, I died a lot in these games. But overall, I really enjoyed it. One of the things that I absolutely loved the most was the gunplay. It feels really good, all of the guns feel really punchy, and all of the guns feel really unique. So you have weapons like the assault rifles that are kind of accurate to a range, but you have to control the recoil, and you also have to reload. Then things like the LMGs that you don't have to reload, but you have to worry about them overheating, and they also get faster and faster rates of fire the longer that you're firing them. It feels like they've designed the guns around gameplay rather than trying to go for realism or anything like that, and I really appreciate that. Every single fight we got into felt unique, it felt really interesting. It was a lot of fun. I was playing with co-pilot here, and when we were getting in fights together, that was really cool, trying to sort of strategize and work out the best way to attack people. The time to kill is pretty fast with some weapons, but it's not as fast as something like Battlefield. I didn't see many people getting sniped in one-shots and things like that. I think because of the movement, that's incredibly hard to do. And it feels like when you get shot, you do have a little bit of time to react. So like in this area, you could dive behind a building, or you could throw a shield up, or you could just get on your personal vehicle and try to get as far away as possible. So there are options to survive when you're being attacked. I really don't think they need to change anything about the guns or the grenades. They all work really well, and it's so satisfying to play a game where straight away they seem to have got the balance kind of right already. I'm guessing they've done a lot of internal playtesting with this, and they've got a good grip of what makes guns fun to use. The maps also look absolutely gorgeous. So we had that nighttime map with all the sort of Japanese towns and villages, and then there's this daytime map set in the mountains, and you've got these gorgeous wheat fields. Yes, the grass and the trees move, so that gives it a little plus point over Warzone and Call of Duty. It looks absolutely spectacular. And when you're scooting around with your team, and you can see like massive fights going off in the distance, all of the skyboxes seem to have these massive spaceships engaged in battles. It just gives you something interesting to look at and makes it quite immersive. Like scooting through this forest on the hoverboard was really cool. Going into towns and cities and fighting in there. There's a lot of variation, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. The abilities were a lot of fun as well, so I was just using the cloak there that makes you invisible for a bit and gives you loads of mobility because you can jump really high, but you can't shoot your weapons when you're using it. If you want to check out what sort of abilities and things like that there are, look at my video from yesterday where I do a lot more explaining what Leap is. In there I go through some of the abilities that are available. But from the ones that I used in this, I thought they were all very cool and way more powerful than I expected. The cooldowns are pretty short on all of them except for the ultimate abilities, and you end up using them all the time. The shield is really cool. That was something that I thought wasn't going to be that interesting, but it's actually this massive dome shield you throw down. You can shoot out of it, and enemies have to shoot through it to break it first before they can damage you. And because the cooldown's so short and you can just throw it down, it really gives you an opportunity to sort of turn a fight around, especially if there's a couple of you. Once you've got that shield up, the amount of firepower you can put out before they break your shield is insane. Another cool one was this Redeemer style rocket like from Unreal Tournament, where you can fire this guided missile that starts off kind of slow but speeds up and up and up, and it feels so powerful when you're using it. So you can fly it across the whole map. I'm not sure if there's a time limit on it. The thing that stopped me was actually getting shot while I was steering this around. But it gives you a chance to see the map, and you can kind of fly all the way across to a different objective if one of your teammates needs a hand, and then just shoot them and snipe them with the rocket. One last thing that I really loved was when I found out that what I thought were microtransactions in the store are actually things that you buy with currency you earn in the game. So every time you level up, every time you complete a challenge, you get a ton of this currency that's like that green icon, and then you can use that to buy cosmetics. This is not going to be a free-to-play game. I didn't mention that in my previous video. This is going to be a game you spend money on, and I think a lot of people will find that quite refreshing after things like Halo Infinite. The idea that you can earn stuff in this game by playing it. And yes, you have to pay the game straight away, but it is going to be cheaper in early access. Now on to some of the things that I didn't like as much, and I'm really sad to say one of the big ones is the movement. Now when I was talking about this game yesterday after watching the trailer, I was super excited about the movement, but it just doesn't feel right yet. The biggest problem is there's no real sense of momentum. The grappling hooks are cool, don't get me wrong, you can use them all the time, every character can use them just using the middle mouse, and you can shoot all over the place, they've got a really good range, they feel pretty good, but everything else feels like it lacks momentum. So when you use the personal vehicles, it doesn't feel like you're on a vehicle, you can just kind of float around, and you can float vertically up, you can float vertically down, and you just sort of stay there. When you go forwards, it doesn't feel like you're picking up speed or momentum, they never get particularly fast, and that's really disappointing. The same thing happens when you're running, there's no sprint in this. You have a dash, which is those yellow arrows in the bottom left corner, that you can use twice, and that's about it. When you're using the personal vehicles, there's kind of a cool touch that you can just fire your gun, and then the personal vehicle will disappear, it kind of explodes, which is obviously good if you get into a gunfight, less good if you accidentally fire your gun, and then you have to wait for the cooldown to be up on your personal vehicle. Now when you're doing this in a battle, when you're flying into battle, it feels very, very slow. It doesn't have that exhilarating sensation that you seem to get in the trailer, where you had loads of people having a blast doing tricks and stuff like that. Instead, it feels kind of plodding. I'd love for them to add some kind of momentum system, you know, an acceleration thing where you speed up and get faster and faster on these boards. That would be very cool, so people who are very skilled on them could shoot around the map on them. I think that would be awesome, and it would also just be nice if you had a sense of kind of weight behind everything, so you could sprint around a little bit, and you know, it would take a little bit of time to stop. And when you're doing things like the grappling hooks, you could kind of swing from spot to spot. Now I've got no idea if this is something that they can fix. I've got no idea if this is something that's going to be fixed by the main game. I haven't seen anything about like what they've learned so far from the playtests or anything like that. But if I had any advice to them, if any of the developers are watching this, please think about tweaking the movement a little bit and just see if you can do whatever you can to add that sense of weight. Titanfall's a really good model for that, I think. Like in Titanfall, you can sprint, you can slide, you can wall run, and all of it feels so good and so satisfying to use. In this, if you're sort of running as fast as you possibly can, then you press crouch, you just stop and you've crouched. There's no sliding, there's no forwards momentum or anything like that in it, which is a real shame. But those negatives aside, and really the movement is the only negative, I had an absolute blaster of this. I'm going to be playing more of it on Wednesday, of course, when the proper beta goes live. I can't wait to do that. I'll be streaming it at twitch.tv/geekypastimes and doing more videos here. So make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications on, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.